Well, this is really interesting. So, of course, all 50 Democrats voted for Blinken. That was not to be surprised. But you also saw 28 Republican names cross over the aisle and vote for Blinken. Look, this is the same Tony Blinken where we've got questions about your tenure at the Penn Biden Center, the CCP money that went to University of Pennsylvania during that time. We know about it. We're asking the questions. What's going on? Tony Blinken, you know, right? But look at this. Lindsey Graham, some of these names. Tillis, Romney, Haggerty, Marco Rubio. Rubio.
So let's go there. Navarro, Rubio's toughened up on China under your tutelage. What is going on here? I want you to go back to Pompeo. You just made the comparison when Pompeo was put up as Secretary of State. Walk us through the comparison to Blinken and Pompeo about this vote.
Mike only got 57 votes, which means there was very few crossovers on the Dem side. And every time we sent somebody up for confirmation, Schumer would hold it and stretch out everything. So we were unable to get appointments, and they never crossed over. Now you've got like Lindsey Graham, globalist, Rubio, globalist. Shame on Haggerty, man. I loved Haggerty, man. He was like he should not have done that in loyalty to President Trump. But that's just wrong. But here's the thing: it's like Mitch McConnell seems to be working closely with the Democrats to accelerate these confirmations, when in fact, when Mitch was Senate Majority Leader, he couldn't get Schumer to do anything. So what I'm worried about is they're going to quickly pack these bureaucracies, and that interagency process is going to throw a hard one.
You had, by the way,
undo everything.
In the confirmation here today, we'll actually have the audio tomorrow. Ted Cruz lights up the Commerce nominee about the whole thing about the companies that we're supposed to stop providing capital for. The Commerce Department, and the headline in the South China Morning Post is very different than the reality. I thought she was very weak when it came to the CCP. What do you say, Dr. Navarro?
Yeah, I mean, the Commerce Department, surprisingly enough, probably was the best hammer that we had in the administration to hit knockout punches on specific sectors and companies. And we did that a lot. If we have somebody in there who reverts to the globalist mean, as it looks like we're going to do, they'll probably start with, for example, lightening back up on Huawei, and we'll lose 5G. Losing 5G alone, this is the telecommunications network that hooks up all the Internet of Things. That is like a gift to the Chinese Communist Party to take our economy and, Steve, our military apart. So everything I'm looking at, I'm not seeing good news. And on the Buy American front, I went over that one more time, and I realized that Biden basically repealed two key executive orders that I worked really hard on, that basically wipes out a lot of money for infrastructure. And lo and behold, the U.S. Post Office is now probably going to buy trucks from Turkey instead of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So this is termites in the house, Steve. Termites in the house.
Stop. Hang on. They're sitting there touting. They're sitting there touting. He's signing these executive orders to Buy American to do what Donald Trump and Peter Navarro just talked about. He said he's doing. You're saying in the executive order they're actually reversing things that you.
Devil in the details. They repealed two executive orders that I personally drafted for the president. One of them extended Buy American to what's called federal financial assistance. So, example, if the federal government gave a state money to buy stuff, Buy American would apply. They stripped that. I mean, shame on them. And then the United States Post Office, I mean, they buy like huge fleets of trucks. They're about to award a contract, and it could either go to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, or somewhere in Turkey or India. And guess what? What the Biden crew probably is going to do is let the globalists take over. So everything I'm seeing, Steve, is bad with Joe Biden with respect to MAGA, taking care of blue-collar workers, putting pressure on blacks and Hispanics with his flood of cheap labor across the border. And shame on the Republican senators for crossing over and voting in large numbers for these Biden appointments who are nothing but globalists who want to go back to the status quo. But that's the power of the multinational corporations that feed the Republican beast in this country.
Okay, hang on for a second. I want to talk about, we're 24 hours after the Davos speech of Xi. You called the victory lap. I call it the throwdown. Crickets from the White House, Mr. Jack Posobiec?
Look, it's been absolute crickets. Even when they mention it to Jen Psaki, you know, she says something about, well, we have to work on our relationship with China. We've got a long relationship. The fact of the matter is, she went on that speech. He assumed, he proclaimed, remember, it was a proclamation of the global mandate of heaven for the Chinese Communist Party. No response whatsoever from the White House.
Navarro, you know how important the optics are in this relationship, in this confrontation. Tell the American people right now, what do you think, how could possibly the White House, President Trump would have been on the trigger on a tweet instantaneously, a series of tweets. How much does it damage what you guys brought us to as far as this confrontation of standing up the Chinese Communist Party and getting back to a level playing field to have total crickets out of the administration?
I got a new drinking game for you, Steve. Every time Psaki mentions strategic patience or negotiations or globalism, we hit a shot of sake, right? That's all we're going to do is we're going to get drunk with rhetoric, and I mean, look, the CCP, Xi Jinping, they're feeling their oats. They're coming at us hard. They're going to press and probe. And here's the thing: the more weakness Biden and Psaki and these other people and Blinken show right now, the more trouble they're going to be in, because that's like an invitation to Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping was afraid of what Donald Trump would do if he was provoked. There is no such fear right now in Beijing, and they're going to push and probe, and these people are weak. Psaki's weak, Biden's weak, Blinken's weak, Harris is weak. That person at Commerce, I mean, how does that person even get nominated for that position based on that performance? I mean, so yes.
Hang on. Is this just your toxic masculinity coming to the forefront, or what do you mean? What's your definition of weak, Dr. Peter Navarro?
Look, Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, you can draw a straight line between them. The doctrine was peace through strength. Okay. To the extent that the bad guys out there, whether it's Kim Jong-un, North Korea, Xi Jinping in China, whether it's the mullahs in Iran, whether it's the bad guys down in Venezuela, if they believe in the White House there's somebody there who will react strongly and forcefully if they cross a red line, guess what? They won't cross the red line. That's not the vibe or the signal they're getting. I mean, the best way to keep peace is through strength. It's like, that's why you have a big defense budget. It's you build the arms so you never have to use them. This is, you can go through history for 5,000 years and you understand that the only way that we've had eras of peace is when there has been strength to stop the aggression of the other side. And so it's Geopolitics 101. It's John Mearsheimer 202. And that's not what we're getting. I mean, the Biden administration is getting off to a very, very bad start here on the China issue. And my fear here, Steve, is that Xi Jinping will see that and he'll start probing. Kim Jong-un, he's going to start probing. And the mullahs, they're going to start probing. And like John, you know what John Kerry is over in Iran? He's like an appetizer, right? It's like, hey, John, bring me some more cash here while we make our weapons. So as President Trump always loved to say, let's see what happens. But what I'm seeing now on the chessboard, Steve, is basically checkmate in a few months if we're not careful.
Wow. Okay, real quickly. Strategic. When the audience hears from Jen Psaki, strategic patience in interagency process.
Everybody take a drink.
Should they deem that as appeasement? Is that a code word for appeasement?
Yes, of course it is. And how foolish of her to use that phrase, because that was what Obama used when he lost the Middle East. I mean, that was the whole lead from behind. right? Remember. I mean, that's the problem, Steve. You and I have a sense of history, and we remember this stuff. She gets up there and utters like strategic patience and the interagency process, and it's like, oh, we are in big, big trouble now. No, strategic
Okay, Peter,
patience
we got
is not a doctrine when China's attacking us the way they are. Information warfare, economic warfare, attacking us with the virus, crushing Hong Kong, building up their military, running in the South China Sea, flying, strafing over the Taiwan Strait. Strategic patience, how do you want to be patient with that?
Peter, what's your coordinates? How do you get to the Navarro report? It's got about 30 seconds.
Real P Navarro on Twitter, and there's NavarroReport.com. NavarroReport.com. 3 volumes of that. It's the definitive work on why Trump won the election and how the Democrat Party stole it.
Dr. Navarro, to complete this, what's your message to Joe Biden in that wall?
Tear down that wall, Joe. It looked like Berlin today, Steve. I was out on the mall. It was like foggy and gray,
Papers, please.
and I'm looking through fence and barbed wire at the Capitol, and I'm thinking, wow, tear down that wall. I was channeling JFK and Reagan.
Dr. Navarro, thank you very much.